Welcome back. We'll get to Drew Brees and the Saints in a second, but first, DeMarcus Lawrence brushing off the offensive tackle, bats the ball, comes up with the pick.
Now, this is a great play.
Thank you.
Because he's able to anticipate, because the offensive lineman has a quick set and tries to cut, he automatically knows it's quick game passing. There's only a couple routes that they can run. He tries to throw the slant flat route, throw the flat. He picks it off. Amazing play by a defensive lineman.
So I thought this was amazing athleticism. We were watching this before the show. You were saying he made that play more with his head.
Yes, he read
knew
it.
what was coming.
Ooh.
Oh my
College
God.
of Texas senior
He
Kerwin
did not
Roach.
read this one.
Oh, get it. I like that. Big win for Texas. And my cousin Shaka Smart. That's a big.
Yeah, people think you got people say that all the time, right?
And I look like Shaka Smart. Yeah, that's why I called him the best looking coach in Division I basketball yesterday. Go get it.
Finally, EuroLeague basketball.
Other guy they say you look like.
Manu Ginobili?
Yeah, no, that guy looks like he's had on a binge or something.
All right, guys. Enough.
Not sure this is how they drew this one up.
Green or something?
Tom Green.
Him too.
It counts.
What's
2
happening
points
here?
all the same.
Did it go off his head? Off his head? Oh, EuroLeague. Look at this. Give me the ball. Oh. Off the noggin. Did you get an assist for that pass? The bucket goes to the guy who went off his noggin.
Y'all do realize they had to stop the game to be able to wipe it off. He had a little wave grease.
Well, I knew you were going to say that,
Stop
man.
it, you know.
Hit
Hit him off of his wave cap.
If the Saints have anything to be thankful for this year, it is unquestionably Drew Christopher Brees. He said earlier in the week he feels like he's in a zone. That continued last night against the Falcons. Brees finishing with 171 passing yards, found 4 different receivers for touchdowns. They won, beating the Falcons 31-17. Their 10th straight win. Here is Drew Brees after the game.
Each week, I think especially over the last 3 weeks, you've seen just a level of confidence and growth and maturity. I think out of some young players, really on both sides of the ball, stepping into roles, getting significant playing time, really having to contribute in a big way. And they're just continuing to get better and better, and I think there's confidence that's building with that too, and so you just feel like we're scratching the surface.
All right, Nick, you watched this game last night. It's hard not to have them in the conversation for the best team in the NFL. After picking up their 10th straight win, could you say this could very well be the best team?
They are the best team in the league right now. I had been saying that them, Kansas City, and Los Angeles were all in the same tier, and they are all in the same tier, but the Saints are at the top of the tier. The Saints, what they did last night, Alvin Kamara could have gone for 200. He didn't because they didn't need to. Last night, Kamara and Thomas combined for 5 catches for 47 yards. Drew Brees throws 4 touchdowns to 4 guys who going into the game had 2 career touchdowns combined.
And Nick, if you tell me what the numbers are going to be, like you typically can do, man, you know the numbers. You tell me, Chris, these are going to be the numbers. These are going to be the guys. Tell me what happened. I was like, man, the Saints lost that game.
Saints lost that game. Alvin Kamara is going to have 1 catch for 9 yards. Michael Thomas is going to have 4 catches for 38 yards. They're going to have combined rushing and receiving, those 2 players, 0 touchdowns. Oh, the Saints lost. Oh, no, they didn't. Because old Dan Arnold, undrafted out of Wisconsin Platteville, got him a touchdown. Tommy Lee Lewis, undrafted out of Northern Illinois, got him a touchdown. Austin Carr, who I thought was a Cavs great, undrafted out of Northwestern, got a Cavs touchdown. And who can forget the great Keith Kirkwood, undrafted out of Temple? He got him a receiving touchdown. These are Madden-generated creative player names. They all scored for the Saints yesterday. What they are doing, okay, you want to double Michael Thomas every play, no problem.
Yes.
We're going to have guys in single coverage and perfectly placed balls. Man, this team is terrifying.
And we needed to see this. We need to see this type of win where their offense was sputtering as far as their stars and their productivity, and the defense was just holding down a really good offensive team. So that's the problem, that when you try to, how do I make a difference between Drew Brees, what he's doing, Patty Mahomes, and Jared Goff, what they're doing? A lot of times on that defensive end with the Saints. All right, the Saints defense has been far more consistent since those first opening games. So that, to me, besides Drew Brees. Now, Drew Brees is playing at a level, and it was nice to hear during the telecast last night because Tony Dungy and them talked about being around Sean Payton, how Sean Payton in the practice the day before predicted that this guy right here is going to be wide open in the game when we run this because they're going to think we're going to throw it to Mike, and this guy is going to use him as a decoy. So that was brilliant to be able to see, and I think it's very important, not only for the team to see, but these other role players, for them to have some success because they're going to need them in a game to make a play or two. And we also need to be able to see what are the Saints if you clamp down on their top two guys. How can you get some productivity? And Sean Payton and Drew Brees are able to get in sync with these guys and be able to prove it out. That's why, Nick, I think that you're saying that they're the best team in football.
How does a team like this, where you're able to use third, fourth, fifth, sixth options, undrafted guys, make that work? Is it Drew Brees? Is it the system? Is it what Sean Payton is carving up? Can another team duplicate that?
Yesterday, I thought it was more schematic than talent. Yesterday, Drew Brees was not particularly sharp. He missed a few passes, uncharacteristic of him this season, but guys were running wide open. Two of these touchdowns, when the ball gets to him, they're the only player in the screen. So Drew Brees didn't have to be incredibly sharp.
Ben Watson dropped another touchdown where Drew Brees manipulated the safety out straight down the seam there. So you make a great point. Not only these guys are not the primary targets, but you know it's a play design in the NFL. When you're playing against a team that you have played twice a year for a number of years, they know your intel. The reason why we have these Thanksgiving specials against teams that they know. Why? Because they're familiar. The games will be tighter. Like I told you guys, these games will start slow and be a little more methodical because both teams know each other. But later on in the game, it will become more explosive. So that right there is a credit to Sean Payton to be able to manipulate and know what the defense was going to do and be able to get these guys wide open.
And since that Rams game where they won, but they allowed 35 points, this Saints defense, playing the Bengals, hold them to 14. Playing Philly, hold them to 7. Play Atlanta, hold them to 17. They've got 9 turnovers forced in that 3-game stretch. That we know they're the #1 rush defense in football. They showed that again yesterday. And we saw the pressure they exert on the opposing team when their offense is on the sideline. The Falcons went for 6 fourth downs yesterday. Not the majority of which when the game was still in question early. It was exactly what when Coach Mangini and I were talking yesterday. It was a David versus Goliath game where it was you felt like, even though I'm not calling the Falcons a David in all senses, but because the Saints have such an overwhelming offense.
Go through the Rolodex.
Right. You feel like, man, we've got to do everything we can to stay on the field. They went for a 4th and 7 at midfield in the first quarter because, man, we can't afford to give the ball back to New Orleans.
Now, a lot of times, too, when we talk about Sean Payton, we'll talk about him as far as offensive play caller, him and Drew Brees, how prolific they are as far as an offense. But one thing should be noted, and if they are able to go on to try to win a Super Bowl, a lot should be taken from what Sean Payton has done with certain players. Michael Thomas, we know his career, only a 2nd-round pick. Alvin Kamara, he was a 3rd-round pick, right? A 3rd-round pick, what he's done with him. But what he did in the trade deadline, all right? There's a hidden little secret in the NFL and the scouting departments, everything. Sean Payton loves Ohio State players. And I'm not just saying that because I came from Ohio State. But look what Eli Apple, in yesterday's game, sometime matched up with Julio Jones one-on-one. We saw Eli Apple in this city. We're here. We saw him get criticized. We saw his career. Guys on the team call him out, say they didn't want to play with him. Now he's turned his career around. All right, he looks like a 1st-round pick in that secondary for the Saints that is full of 3 other Buckeyes. And so that Sean Payton, he doesn't get credit as as just an X's and O coach. He's a developer of talent, and that trade right there to Eli Apple could really help solidify that defense. And that's why we're starting to see some of them stellar numbers and a lot of that coming from the back end of the defense.
And the 3 teams that won yesterday, the Bears, the Cowboys, and the Saints. The Bears obviously made a massive trade before the season. that changed their team. But the Cowboys and Saints both added players at the deadline, and it's not only the addition of talent in your locker room, but it's what it does for the other guys in the locker room, telling them the management thinks we can win right now. We are trying to acquire guys right now, as opposed to teams like the Packers that sold off some talent, and what it tells the guys in the locker room, we're more worried about next year. I feel like it gives, Troy Aikman made this point during the Dallas game, it gives the other guys in the locker room almost an invigoration of, oh, we're going for it this year, and Eli Apple's playing some of the best football of his career.
Before we break, I want to quickly ask you about the Falcons, because a lot of people had the Falcons going pretty far this year. Was this an outlying year because of all the injuries, or is this a team that's trending the other way?
Defensive injuries and very close losses early. Prior to last night, I think only one of their losses had been by more than a score. They had an overtime loss to the Saints. They had a goal line loss to the Eagles. They had a last-second loss to Cincinnati. They had a lot of injuries, and the 50-50 games went against them. That's how you turn into this season.
I think they've really developed something with a couple players added to it. If you look at Freeman's been out, their star running back for most of the season. We know the wholesale defensive changes that they had to make. But if you look at them, they have Calvin Ridley. Add him to Julio Jones. You get Free back next year. So they're still going to be a dangerous team, but they are a piece away. There are certain teams that will win in spite of their injuries, but there will be certain teams that their season, it's not an excuse. It's real. Their season will be ended because of injuries, and I would say that's more of the Falcons. Well-run team, well-coached, but you just cannot overcome some of the things that they face this year.
All right, we got a break. Coming up, does Rob Gronkowski's return solve all the Patriots' problems? Next on First Things First. If only it was that easy.